Ah, this can't be happening. Oh, ah, my heart is breaking into 1,000 pieces. Please, tell me this is a nightmare. The echo of humiliation bounced off the walls like a desperate scream. Her knees trembled against the cold floor as the salty taste of tears mixed with the bitterness of betrayal. The scent of withered roses filled the air, as if even the flowers knew that something beautiful had just died forever. Vanessa Moore watched from the window of the small apartment in Boyle Heights as the rain lashed against the dirty glass. Her soft green eyes reflected a deep sadness that seemed to have taken up permanent residence in her 20-year-old soul. Her black skin, which her grandmother always told her shone like ebony, now seemed dull under the grey afternoon light. "Honey, the letters from the universities are here," her mother Sharon yelled from the kitchen with a voice that tried to sound hopeful but had already lost the battle to resignation. Vanessa closed her eyes. She knew what she would find in those envelopes. One after another, the answers would be the same. "We regret to inform you that your application has not been accepted, not for lack of ability, but for lack of resources." The numbers in her bank account were as cruel as the looks of contempt she received every day at work. She worked as a waitress at the Cypress Lounge, an elegant place in Beverly Hills, where the rich of Los Angeles came to flaunt their fortunes, while she struggled to scrape together money for tuition. Every "excuse me, miss" spoken with disdain, every insufficient tip accompanied by condescending smiles, every comment about that helpful dark-skinned girl stabbed her heart like glass shards. "Are you going to open them or not?" Sharon insisted, approaching with her hands covered in flour. At 45, exhaustion was etched into every line of her face, but her brown eyes still held that spark of unconditional love for her daughter. Vanessa took the envelopes with trembling hands. One by one, the words hit her like stab wounds. Not accepted, waitlisted, insufficient funds for a full scholarship. The last envelope from UCLA was the one that finally shattered her hopes. "Honey?" Sharon whispered, moving in to hug her. "No, Mom, don't say anything. We already knew this would happen," Vanessa said, gently pulling away, wiping the tears she refused to shed. "I was a fool for believing someone like me could study philosophy." "Someone like you? Vanessa Moore, don't you dare talk about my daughter like that." "Someone poor, Mom. Someone black. Someone from Boyle Heights who smells like kitchen grease because she works 15-hour days so we can eat." The words came out like poison, each one more bitter than the last. Sharon felt her heart break, seeing her daughter, so brilliant, so full of dreams, broken by a system that would never give her a real chance. That night, while Sharon slept, Vanessa sat on the small balcony of their apartment. The city lights seemed to mock her from a distance. She had worked so hard, studied late into the night using borrowed library books, memorized every word of the great philosophers while washing dishes at the lounge. All for nothing. "Why, God?" she whispered to the night wind. "Why did you give me this mind if I can never use it?" A stray cat approached and curled up by her bare feet. It was skinny, scarred, but its eyes shone with a hope that Vanessa had lost. She stroked it gently. "You and I are the same, Kitty. Nobody wants us, but we're still here." The next day, she went to the Cypress Lounge with an even heavier heart. It was Saturday, the busiest day, when the rich came for brunch after their late-night parties. Vanessa tied her apron, pulled her curly hair into a perfect bun, and painted a fake smile on her lips. The first table was a group of high society ladies with handbags that cost more than Vanessa's annual salary. "Excuse me, miss," said one of them, a blonde woman with too much makeup. "Could you wipe this table properly? It's a bit dirty." Vanessa wiped the spotless table. She knew it wasn't dirty, they just wanted to make her feel small. "Anything else, ma'am?" "Yes, dear. An Americano, but make sure it's piping hot. The last time I was here, a girl like you served it to me lukewarm." I suppose you're not used to this kind of refinement. A girl like you. The words echoed in Vanessa's ears. It wasn't the first time. She'd heard that code, that polite way of telling her she didn't belong. Of course, ma'am, I'll bring you the best coffee in the house. As she prepared the order, Vanessa heard the women's laughter and comments. She's pretty, don't you think? Too bad she's... You know. Yes, but at least she's polite, not like some others. My husband says they should be grateful to have jobs. In other places, they wouldn't even hire them. Every word was a stone thrown at her dignity. Vanessa clenched her fists, took a deep breath and returned with the tray. As she served the coffee, her hand trembled slightly, and a few drops fell onto the white tablecloth. "Oh no! Look what you did!" the blonde woman shrieked. "This tablecloth is imported. Do you have any idea how much it costs?" All the customers in the lounge turned to watch the scene. Vanessa felt the heat of shame rise up her neck. "I'm so sorry, ma'am. Let me clean it up immediately." "Clean it? This can't be cleaned. Where did they find—" "This girl? Call the manager." "There's no need to involve the manager." A deep, masculine voice was heard from a nearby table. Vanessa looked up and met the most intense blue eyes she had ever seen. A young man, perhaps 30, dressed in a suit that clearly cost more than everything she owned, approached with confident strides. "James Harrington," he introduced himself with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "I think you're being too harsh on the young lady. It was an accident." The blonde woman's attitude changed immediately upon recognizing the surname. "Mr. Harrington, I didn't know you were here. Of course, we all make mistakes." James ignored the woman and addressed Vanessa directly. "Are you all right, miss?" Vanessa looked at him confused. In his blue eyes she saw something she couldn't interpret. Pity, curiosity, something deeper. "Yes, sir. Thank you very much for your intervention." "You're welcome." James hesitated a moment before continuing. "May I ask your name?" "Vanessa Moore, sir." "Vanessa," he repeated, as if savoring each syllable. A beautiful name for a beautiful woman. Vanessa's cheeks flushed. No one had ever spoken to her like that, much less someone of his social class. "Thank you, sir, but I have to get back to my work." "Of course. Perhaps we'll see each other again soon." James returned to his table, but Vanessa felt his gaze on her for the rest of her shift. When he finally left, he left a 100 tip and a note. "For someone who deserves much more than this place can offer. J.H." Vanessa tucked the note into her apron pocket, unaware that this moment would change her life forever. 3 days after the incident at the lounge, Vanessa couldn't get the image of James Harrington's gaze out of her mind. She had done some discreet research and discovered he was the heir to one of the largest fortunes in the country, Harrington Industries, with investments in everything from real estate to technology. A man, completely out of her league. On Monday morning, as she walked to the lounge, she saw a black limousine parked right in front of the entrance. Her heart raced when she recognized James getting out of the vehicle. He was wearing a perfectly tailored grey suit, and when he saw her, his face lit up with a genuine smile. "Vanessa," he said, approaching. "What a coincidence to see you here." "It's not a coincidence, Mr. Harrington. I work here," she replied, trying to maintain her composure. "You're right. In fact, it's no coincidence that I'm here either." Vanessa looked at him, confused. "Excuse me." James ran a hand through his dark brown hair, a gesture that betrayed nervousness. "I came looking for you. I have a proposal for you." "A proposal?" "Mr. Harrington, I don't know what kind of person you think I am, but—" "No, wait," James interrupted, holding up his hands. "It's not what you think. It's about a job. A real job." Vanessa frowned. What was he talking about? "I need a personal assistant. Someone intelligent, dignified, capable of holding interesting conversations. The salary would be $8,000 a month, plus bonuses." The figure took her breath away. It was 5 times more than what she earned at the lounge. Why me? You don't even know me. The other day, while I was waiting for my order, I overheard you discussing a newspaper article with your co-worker. You spoke about social inequality with such passion and knowledge that I was impressed. You mentioned Rousseau, Marx, Simone de Beauvoir. Not just anyone can do that while on the clock. Vanessa blushed. She didn't know anyone had been listening. I studied on my own, sir. The books from the public library have been my teachers. That's exactly why I want you on my team. James looked directly into her eyes. Give me a chance to give you the chance you deserve. Mr. Harrington, I truly appreciate your offer, but what will your partners say? Your family? A girl like me working so closely with you? A girl like you? James repeated the words with a mix of curiosity and annoyance. What does that mean exactly? Vanessa looked down. You know what I mean. No, I don't. You tell me. I'm black, Mr. Harrington. I'm from Boyle Heights. I have no formal education. Your world and mine are completely different. James took a step closer. And what does any of that matter? Talent has no color, Vanessa. Intelligence knows no zip codes. The words resonated in Vanessa's heart. Like celestial music. No one had ever spoken to her like that. Mr. Harrington, James, just James. James, I don't know if I'm ready for something like this. No one is ever ready for the opportunities that change their life. You learn as you go. He pulled out a business card and handed it to her. Think about it. If you decide to give it a try, show up at this address tomorrow at 8 in the morning. Vanessa took the card with trembling hands. The address was in Century City, one of the most exclusive business districts in LA. What if it doesn't work out? What if I'm not what you expect? James smiled, and this time the smile reached his blue eyes. Something tells me you're going to exceed all my expectations. He turned to leave, but then stopped. Oh, and Vanessa, when you arrive tomorrow, don't come as an employee. Come as my partner. Vanessa stood frozen on the sidewalk, watching the limousine drive away. In her hand, the card felt like it weighed a ton. Was this real, or just a cruel dream she would wake up from at any moment? That night, Sharon noticed her daughter's restlessness. What's wrong, honey? You've been so quiet. Vanessa told her everything. Sharon listened in silence, her eyes growing wider and wider. $8,000 a month? Yes, Mom, but I'm scared. What if it's a trap? What if he's just playing with me? Sharon took her daughter's hands in hers. Honey, we've lived our whole lives in fear. Fear of dreaming, fear of trying, fear of failing. But you've never been afraid of hard work or being honest. They can never take that away from you. But what if I'm not good enough? Vanessa Moore, you are the most intelligent woman I know. You've read more books than most college students. You talk about philosophy like you're a professor. The only thing you've ever lacked is an opportunity. Vanessa spent the night tossing and turning. At dawn, she got up and looked at herself in the cracked mirror in her room. Her green eyes shone with a determination that had been dormant for too long. She put on her only nice dress, a black one she'd bought second-hand for special occasions. She did her hair, applied her makeup carefully, and left her house with her heart pounding like a war drum. The office building in Century City was imposing, all glass and steel. Vanessa felt small as she entered the marble lobby, but she remembered James's words. Don't come as an employee, come as my partner. She straightened her shoulders and walked to the elevator with her head held high. On the 35th floor, a blonde receptionist looked her up and down with disdain. How can I help you? I have an appointment with Mr. James Harrington. Your name? Vanessa Moore. The receptionist checked her schedule with a surprised expression. Yes, here it is. One moment, please. Minutes later, James appeared. He was wearing a white shirt without a tie, which gave him a more relaxed air, but his blue eyes shone with anticipation. You came, he said, and there was genuine relief in his voice. I came, Vanessa confirmed. Then let's begin. He led her down a hallway lined with offices to a mahogany door. "This will be your office," he said, opening the door. Vanessa gasped. The office was larger than her entire apartment, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, an elegant wooden desk, a library full of books, and even a small indoor garden. "James, this is too much. It's exactly what you deserve." He walked over to the library. "Here you have first editions of Toni Morrison, James Baldwin, Maya Angelou. I thought you might like them." Vanessa approached the books with reverence. She had never seen such beautiful editions. "Why are you doing this for me? You don't really know me." James leaned against the desk, studying her. "Can I be honest with you? Please. I've spent my whole life surrounded by people who tell me what I want to hear, partners who only look out for their own interests, women who only see my bank account, friends who aren't really friends. But you spoke to me with authenticity from the first moment. You didn't try to impress me or pretend to be someone you're not." "Because I didn't know who you were," Vanessa admitted with a shy smile. "Exactly. And I want to keep that honesty between us." James took a step closer. "I need someone real in my life, Vanessa. Someone who will challenge me, who will make me think, who will remind me that there's a world beyond these glass walls." Their eyes met, and for a moment the air between them became thick, charged with unspoken possibilities. "And what exactly would my responsibilities be?" Vanessa asked, trying to break the tension. "Accompanying me to meetings, helping me prepare presentations, organizing my schedule. But most of all, being my conscience. When you see me acting like a privileged rich guy, let me know." Vanessa laughed, a genuine laugh that filled the office with warmth. "That could be a full-time job. Then you'll have plenty to do." They spent the next 2 hours reviewing the company's projects. James was repeatedly surprised by Vanessa's intelligent observations, her ability to see angles he had overlooked. "Did you study business administration?" he asked at one point. "No, but I read several books on business ethics and social responsibility. It seemed important to understand how large corporations work if I ever wanted to change something in the world." "Change what exactly?" Vanessa blushed. "It will sound naive, but I always thought that companies could be a force for good, creating decent jobs, investing in communities, giving real opportunities to people like me." James looked at her with growing admiration. "It doesn't sound naive. It sounds revolutionary." At lunchtime, James invited her to eat at one of the city's most exclusive restaurants. Vanessa felt out of place among the silverware and designer-clad diners, but James made her feel comfortable with his intelligent conversation and genuine attention. "Tell me about your family," he asked as they waited for dessert. "It's just my mom and me. My dad left us when I was 5. Mom worked whatever job she could to raise me, cleaning, cooking, sewing. She never complained, but I saw how she sacrificed for me." "And your dreams? What did you want to be before life gave you other priorities?" Vanessa looked down. "I wanted to study philosophy, to be a university professor, write essays on social justice and ethics. It sounds silly now that I say it out loud." "Why does it sound silly?" "Because I'm a waitress from Boyle Heights. People like me don't become university professors." James leaned forward, his expression serious. "Vanessa, I want you to listen to me very carefully. You are one of the most intelligent people I have ever met. Your origin does not define your destiny. Your skin color does not limit your potential. And if anyone tells you otherwise, they are speaking from ignorance or fear." James's words touched something deep in Vanessa's heart. She felt tears forming in her eyes, but she held them back. "Thank you. I needed to hear that." "Well, get ready to hear it a lot more." When they returned to the office, James introduced her to some of his partners. The reactions were varied. Some treated her with professional courtesy, others with barely concealed curiosity, and a few with open disdain. James, his senior partner, Edward Vance whispered to him when Vanessa stepped away to take a call. "Are you sure about this decision? She's very different from our usual style." "Different how?" James asked in a dangerously calm voice. "You know," Edward made a vague gesture, "our clients are used to a certain type of presentation." "If you mean our clients are used to racism disguised as professional standards, then maybe it's time they get used to something new." Edward raised his hands in surrender. "As you wish. I just hope you know what you're doing." James looked at Vanessa, who was taking notes while on the phone, completely focused on her work. "I know exactly what I'm doing." At the end of the day, as the sun set over Los Angeles, James walked Vanessa to the elevator. "How did you feel on your first day?" "Like I was living someone else's life," she admitted. "A life I always wanted but never thought I could have." "Well, get used to it because this is your life now." The elevator doors opened. Vanessa stepped in but turned to look at him. "James, why are you really doing this for me?" He looked at her for a long moment, as if debating how much he could reveal. "Because when I saw you stand up for yourself in the lounge, when I heard you speak with such passion about justice, I saw something I had lost a long time ago." "What did you see?" "Hope." The doors closed, but James's words resonated in Vanessa's mind all the way home. When she arrived in Boyle Heights, Vanessa felt as if she were returning from another planet. The noisy streets, the street vendors, the smell of street food. Everything seemed more intense after the hours in the sterile world of Century City. Sharon was waiting for her in the kitchen, preparing dinner with the cheapest ingredients she could find. "How was your day, honey?" Vanessa dropped into a chair, emotionally exhausted. "Mom, do you think love can overcome class differences?" Sharon stopped chopping onions and looked at her daughter attentively. "What are we talking about, Vanessa?" "About Mr. Harrington. James, I think he has feelings for me." "And what do you feel for him?" Vanessa closed her eyes. "I love him, Mom. I love him so much it hurts my chest." Sharon wiped her hands on her apron and sat next to her daughter. "Honey, let me tell you something. Your father and I were also from different worlds. He was a college student from a middle-class family, and I was a girl from the countryside working in a factory. But that didn't work, Mom. Dad left. He left, but not because of class differences. He left because he was a coward who didn't know how to value what he had." Sharon took her daughter's hands. "The problem was never where we came from, but who we were inside. But James is different, Mom. He's rich, powerful, has social commitments. And what are you? Invisible? Worthless? Vanessa Moore, you are intelligent, beautiful, hard-working, and you have a heart that's worth more than all the money in the world. People are going to say horrible things about me. People are always going to talk, honey. The question is, are you going to live your life according to what others say, or according to what your heart feels?" That night, Vanessa couldn't sleep. She lay awake in her small bed, staring at the cracked ceiling and thinking about James's blue eyes, his words, the tenderness in his voice when he confessed his feelings. Saturday arrived without her having made a decision. She stayed home, helping Sharon with chores, trying to keep her mind busy. But every time the phone rang, she jumped, both hoping and fearing it was James. On Sunday afternoon, while reading on the small balcony, she heard footsteps on the building stairs. Steps she didn't recognize, steps too confident for someone from her neighborhood. Sharon opened the door, and Vanessa heard her surprised voice. "Mr. Harrington, what are you doing here?" Vanessa's heart stopped. She peeked through the balcony door, and there he was, dressed in jeans and a casual shirt, completely out of place in the small apartment, but as handsome as ever. "Mrs. Moore, I'm sorry to bother you on a Sunday. I came to talk to Vanessa. Please come in. Would you like some coffee?" "I'd be honored." Vanessa came out from the balcony, nervous. James looked at her, and in his eyes she saw determination and something else. Vulnerability. "Hi." he said simply. "What are you doing here, James?" "I came to tell you." "Something I should have told you on Friday." Sharon discreetly went to the kitchen, but Vanessa knew she was listening to every word. "James, I already told you that we can't be together because of social differences. I know, but there's something I didn't tell you." "What?" James approached, taking her hands in his. "That I don't care about giving all of it up if I have to. The company, the fortune, the social standing. I don't care about any of it if I don't have you." Vanessa felt the world spin. "You can't say that. You don't know what that would mean." "I know exactly what it would mean. It would mean waking up every morning next to the woman I love. It would mean building a life based on something real, not on appearances. It would mean finally being myself. And your family? Your responsibilities? My family will have to understand that their son fell in love with an extraordinary woman. And my responsibilities, well, maybe it's time I use my position to do something that really matters." Vanessa looked at him, searching for any sign of doubt in his blue eyes, but she only found sincerity. "James, this is crazy. Life without you is what's crazy, Vanessa." She pulled away, needing space to think. "What if it doesn't work? What if your world rejects me completely? What if I can't adapt? Then we'll create our own world." The words floated in the air like a promise. Sharon chose that moment to return with the coffee, observing the tension between the two young people. "Mr. Harrington," Sharon said, pouring him coffee into her best cup, "may I ask you a personal question?" "Of course, Mum." "Do you love my daughter?" James looked directly at Sharon, then at Vanessa. "With all my heart." "And are you willing to fight for her, to protect her when people are cruel, to stand by her side when things get tough?" "I would do anything for her." Sharon nodded slowly. "Then you have my blessing, but—" She raised a finger. "If you hurt my daughter, you'll have to answer to me." James smiled for the first time in days. "Understood, ma'am." Vanessa looked at them both, incredulous. "That's it? Just like that?" "Honey," Sharon said, "sometimes love is that simple. It's people who make it complicated." James approached Vanessa again. "Give me a chance, just one chance to prove to you that this can work." Vanessa closed her eyes, fighting an internal battle. When she opened them, she had made a decision. "Okay, one chance, but with conditions. Whatever you want. First, no secrets. If we're going to do this, we do it openly." "Agreed." "Second, I don't change who I am to fit into your world. If they don't accept me as I am, then it wasn't the right place for me. I wouldn't want you to change a thing about yourself. Third, if at any point this becomes toxic or destructive, we stop. No drama, no unnecessary suffering." James took her face in his hands. "And the fourth condition?" "What fourth condition?" "That you kiss me right now, because I've been waiting since Friday to do this." Vanessa laughed, a laugh full of nerves and excitement. She stood on her tiptoes and kissed him softly. The kiss was tender at first, but intensified as James wrapped his arms around her, as if to make sure she was real. When they separated, Sharon clapped from the kitchen. "It's about time!" They both laughed, blushing. "Now what?" Vanessa asked. "Now we take it one step at a time. Tomorrow, I want to take you to meet my mother." Vanessa's eyes widened. "So soon? If we're going to do this openly, let's start where it matters most." That night, after James left, Vanessa sat with Sharon on the small sofa. "Did I do the right thing, Mom?" "You followed your heart, honey. That's never wrong." "I'm scared." "That's normal. Big changes are always scary, but you know what's scarier." "What?" "Regretting not having tried." Vanessa snuggled up to her mother, feeling for the first time in a long time that the future was full of infinite possibilities. The next day, as she prepared to meet James's mother, she looked in the mirror. She no longer saw the defeated girl from a month ago. She saw a woman in love, scared but brave, ready to fight for her happiness. The reflection smiled back at her, and for the first time, Vanessa felt worthy of the love James was offering her. 3 weeks after starting her job with James, Vanessa had found a rhythm in her new life. Every morning she woke before dawn, dressed carefully, and took the subway from Boyle Heights to Century City. The contrast between the two worlds was still a shock, but it no longer overwhelmed her. James had kept his word. He treated her like a partner, not an employee. He asked for her opinion in important meetings, included her in strategic decisions, and had begun to trust her judgment in a surprising way. But something else was growing between them, something neither of them dared to name. It was Friday afternoon, and they were alone in the office, reviewing a social housing project James had proposed to the board. "The numbers don't lie," Vanessa said, pointing to the spreadsheets. "The return on investment will be lower than other projects, but the social impact will be enormous. Imagine 200 families with decent homes." James watched her as she spoke, fascinated by the passion that lit up her green eyes when she discussed social justice issues. "You know, a year ago I would have dismissed this project immediately. I would have only seen the red numbers." "And what changed?" Vanessa asked, looking up from the documents. "You changed my perspective." Their gazes met, and the air grew thick. James approached slowly, as if fighting an internal battle. "Vanessa." "Yes?" "I have to confess something." Vanessa's heart began to beat faster. "I'm listening." "I didn't hire you just for your intelligence." "Well, yes, but—" James ran a hand through his hair, nervous. "From the moment I saw you at the lounge, I haven't been able to get you out of my mind." Vanessa felt the world stop. "James, I know this is complicated. I know there are 1,000 reasons why I shouldn't be telling you this, but what? But I've never felt this way about anyone." The words hung between them like a dangerous confession. Vanessa stood up from her chair, needing distance to think clearly. "We can't, James. You know that. Why not? Do you really need me to explain it? We're from different worlds. Your family, your friends, your social position, everything is against this." James also stood up, moving closer to her. "I don't give a damn what anyone else thinks." "Well, I do." Vanessa turned to him, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "Do you know what they would say about me? That I'm a gold digger, that I slept with you to get a job, that I'm your—" She couldn't finish the sentence. "That you're my what, Vanessa? Your exotic amusement, the pretty black girl the rich guy has fun with before marrying someone from his own class." The words came out like knives, cutting the air between them. James stepped back as if he had been slapped. "Do you really think that of me?" "I don't know what to think, James. This is all very confusing." "Then let me make it clear." James moved closer until he was inches from her. "You are the most extraordinary woman I have ever met. Intelligent, beautiful, authentic, brave. And yes, I like you. I like you so much that I can't concentrate in meetings because I'm thinking about you. I like you so much that I've turned down 3 dates because none of those women interest me after meeting you." Vanessa felt breathless. No one had ever spoken to her like that. "James, please." "Please what? Stop telling the truth. Please don't make this any harder than it already is. What if it doesn't have to be hard? What if we just give ourselves a chance?" "A chance for what?" "For me to show up at your family dinners and have everyone wonder what I'm doing there. For your friends to whisper behind my back. For the media to talk about the humble girlfriend of the Harrington heir." James took her face in his hands, forcing her to look at him. "For us to be happy, to build something real together, to help me be a better man than I am." Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. "You don't know what you're asking." "I know exactly what I'm asking. I'm asking you to trust me, to trust us." For a moment, Vanessa allowed herself to imagine what it would be like, waking up next to him every morning, sharing dreams and fears, building a life together. But reality hit her like a cold wave. I can't, James. I can't risk everything I've built for a maybe. She pulled away from him and grabbed her purse. Where are you going? Home. I need to think. Vanessa, wait. But she had already left the office, leaving James alone with his thoughts and the echo of her words. In the elevator, Vanessa allowed herself to cry. The tears she had, held back for weeks, finally found their way out. She loved James. She had realized it the moment he confessed his feelings. But love wasn't always enough. When she arrived in Boyle Heights, the contrast between her day in Century City and her nightly reality was brutal. But for the first time in years, she didn't feel like a prisoner of her circumstances. Sharon was waiting up for her, anxious to hear everything. So how did it go, honey? Mom, Vanessa said, sitting next to her on their old sofa. I think my life just changed forever. In a good way. Vanessa smiled, and for the first time in a long time the smile reached her green eyes. In the best way possible. That night, before sleeping, Vanessa looked at herself again in the broken mirror. But now, instead of seeing a defeated woman, she saw someone with infinite possibilities. The reflection gave her a smile full of hope. She was no longer afraid of tomorrow. The Harrington estate in Malibu was exactly what Vanessa had imagined. Imposing, elegant, and completely intimidating. Perfectly manicured gardens, marble fountains, and an entrance that looked like it was straight out of a movie. James took her hand as they walked to the front door. Are you okay? Define okay, Vanessa muttered, adjusting the navy blue dress she had bought especially for the occasion. My mother is going to love you. Are you sure about that? Completely sure. Well, 90% sure. Vanessa looked at him in a panic. James! I'm kidding, 80%. Before Vanessa could reply, the door opened. An elegant woman in her 50s appeared in the doorway. Isabel Harrington had perfectly coiffed brown hair, wore a beige pantsuit, and her blue eyes, so much like James's, surveyed Vanessa from head to toe in under 3 seconds. Mom, James said, kissing his mother's cheek, I'd like you to meet Vanessa Moore. Mrs. Harrington, it's an honor to meet you, Vanessa said, extending her hand. Isabel studied her for a moment longer than was socially acceptable before shaking her hand. The pleasure is mine, dear. James has told me so much about you. The word dear sounded more like a declaration of war than a term of endearment. Please, come in. We'll be having lunch in the garden. They followed her through a house that looked like a museum. Every piece of furniture screamed old money. Every painting on the walls had that patina of age that only centuries of wealth can provide. In the backyard garden, a table was elegantly set for 3. A housekeeper, a middle-aged Hispanic woman, was serving water into crystal glasses. Thank you, Maria, Isabel said. You may go. Vanessa noticed how Maria kept her eyes down during the entire interaction, made invisible by habit. She wondered if that's how they saw her too. So, Vanessa, Isabel began once they were seated, James tells me you work with him. That's right, ma'am. I'm his executive assistant. And where did you study? USC? Stanford? Vanessa felt the first blow. The question seemed innocent, but it was loaded with the intent of a bomb. I didn't go to college, Mrs. Harrington. I'm self-taught. Isabel's eyes narrowed almost imperceptibly. How interesting. And tell me, what part of the city are you from? Boyle Heights. This time Isabel couldn't hide her surprise. James quickly intervened. Mom, Vanessa is one of the most intelligent people I've ever met. Her analytical skills are extraordinary. I'm sure she is. Isabel replied with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. It's just that it's unusual for James to bring home someone so different. The word different hung in the air like a subtle poison. Different in what way, ma'am? Vanessa asked in a calm but firm voice. Isabel looked at her directly. Well, dear, you know, different background, different life experiences. Mom, James warned. What, son? I'm just getting to know your friend? The pause before friend was deliberate and hurtful. The first course arrived, arugula salad with goat cheese and walnuts. Vanessa knew the ingredients because she had read about them, but she had never tasted them together. "And tell me, Vanessa," Isabel continued as she ate, "what are your plans for the future? Do you hope to continue working as an assistant?" "I hope to continue growing professionally, Mom. I'm very interested in the area of corporate social responsibility." "How noble!" Isabel exclaimed with condescension. "It's important for young people to have aspirations." The conversation continued along these lines throughout the meal. Isabel asked seemingly innocent questions that were designed to remind Vanessa of her place on the social ladder. James tried to redirect the conversation, but his mother was an expert in subtle social warfare. "And your family, dear? What do they do?" "My mother is a homemaker. My father isn't in the picture." "What a shame. It's so important to have a solid family." "Structure. In our family, we have traditions that go back for generations." When they finally finished eating, Isabel stood up. "James, could you join me in my study for a moment? I need to show you some documents." "Mum, we can look at them later." "It's important, son." James gave Vanessa an apologetic look. "I'll be back in 5 minutes." "Don't worry," Vanessa said, though her stomach clenched at being left alone with Isabel. As soon as James disappeared, Isabel sat across from Vanessa, and her mask of politeness vanished. "Let's speak plainly, Vanessa." "As you wish, ma'am. You're a pretty and intelligent girl, I won't deny that. But if you think my son is going to destroy his future over a whim, you are sorely mistaken." Vanessa felt as if ice water had been thrown on her. "I don't understand what you mean." "Of course you understand. James is going through a rebellious phase, where he thinks he can save the world and every unfortunate girl in it. But phases pass, dear. And what do you suggest I do? Be smart. Take what you can from this experience and walk away before someone gets hurt." "Someone like who?" "Like you, of course." Isabel leaned forward. "Do you really think you can be a part of our world? Do you think you can attend charity galas where a dress costs more than your annual salary? Do you think you can mingle with ambassadors' wives and CEOs of international corporations?" Every word was a carefully aimed dagger. "Look, Vanessa, I have nothing personal against you, but my son has responsibilities. He has to marry someone of his station, someone who can help him maintain and expand the family empire. Someone who understands our codes, our traditions. Someone white and rich, you mean?" Isabel smiled coldly. "If you want to put it that way, yes." Vanessa felt humiliation burn her cheeks, but she kept her voice steady. "And what if James doesn't agree? James is young. He'll get over it, but you could. Save him a lot of pain if you were mature enough to make the right decision." "What would be the right decision?" "To quit, to walk away from him, to allow him to find someone appropriate." Just then, James returned to the garden. "What were you talking about?" "Oh, just girl talk," Isabel replied, instantly retrieving her fake smile. "I was telling Vanessa about our book club. Perhaps she'd be interested in joining." Vanessa stood up abruptly. "Thank you for lunch, Mrs. Harrington, but I don't think it's time for me to go." "Already?" James asked, surprised. "I thought we could stay a bit longer." "No, I have to go." Isabel smiled, satisfied. "It was a pleasure meeting you, dear. I hope you'll consider our conversation." On the way back, James noticed Vanessa's silence. "Are you okay? I know my mother can be a bit intense." "A bit intense? James, your mother just told me I'm not good enough for you." "What? When?" "While you were looking at those important documents." James pulled the car over to the shoulder. "What did she say to you exactly?" Vanessa told him the entire conversation. With every word, James's expression hardened. "Vanessa, I am so sorry. I had no idea she would—" "That your mother is racist and classist? You seriously didn't know?" "I knew she could be difficult, but I never thought she would be so cruel. This is my reality, James. This is the life that awaits me if I'm with you. Your family, your friends, your social circle. They're all going to see me as an intruder who doesn't belong in their world. Then we'll change the world. You say that so easily. None of this is easy, Vanessa, but it's not impossible either. Vanessa looked at him, seeing the determination in his blue eyes. Your mother thinks this is just a phase for you. My mother is wrong. Are you sure? How can you be sure you won't get tired of fighting against everything and everyone? James took her face in his hands. Because I have. Never loved anyone the way I love you. Because when I look at you, I see my future. Because with you, I'm a better man than I have ever been. James, give me time to fix this. Give me time to make my family understand. And what if they don't understand? Then they'll have to choose between accepting you or losing me. That night, Vanessa lay awake, replaying every word from Isabel Harrington. The doubts she had managed to silence started screaming in her mind again. What if Isabel was right? What if this was just a phase? What if James got tired of fighting his own world? The next day at the office, James seemed distant, lost in thought. "Did you talk to your mother?" Vanessa asked during their lunch break. "I spoke with her. I made it very clear that her comments were unacceptable." "And what did she say?" "That she was just protecting her son." "Maybe she's right." James looked at her sharply. "What do you mean?" "Maybe you do need protection from someone like me." "Vanessa, no. Don't let my mother's words make you doubt us. It's not just your mother's words, James. It's everything. The way people look at me in fancy restaurants, the comments I overhear in the elevator, the stares in meetings. That will change. When? In how many years? And in the meantime, what? I continue to be your charity project. You have never been my charity project, haven't I? Then what am I, James? Your rebellion against society. Your way of proving you're different." The words came out laced with pain and frustration. James moved closer, but Vanessa pulled away. "You know that's not true." "Do I? Sometimes I feel like you don't even really know me. You know the idea of me, the romantic story of the poor girl who becomes a princess. That's not fair. You know what's not fair, James? That you have the privilege to choose between your world and mine, while I have no world to go back to. If this doesn't work out, you go back to your old life. I'm left in limbo, belonging nowhere." The conversation was interrupted by James's secretary. "Mr. Harrington, your mother is here to see you." Vanessa and James looked at each other. It was obvious Isabel wasn't there for a social visit. "Show her into my office," James said. "Vanessa, can you give us a few minutes?" Vanessa nodded and left, but she stayed near the door. She didn't want to eavesdrop, but she needed to know what was happening. "James," she heard Isabel's voice, "I came to talk to you." "About that girl. Her name is Vanessa, Mom." "Whatever. Son, I've been speaking with some of our partners. They're concerned." "Concerned about what?" "About your relationship with her. They're questioning your judgment, your leadership ability. Some are even considering pulling their investments." Vanessa felt her heart sink. This was exactly what she had feared. Those partners can go to hell. "James, this company bears our family name. You can't risk everything for a whim." "It's not a whim. I love her. Love fades, son. Family businesses are forever. Are you asking me to choose between Vanessa and the company? I'm asking you to be responsible, to think about your future, about the future generations of our family." There was a long silence. Vanessa held her breath. "I need time to think." "Don't take too long, James. Some decisions can't wait." When Isabel left the office, she barely glanced at Vanessa, but in that quick look, Vanessa saw triumph. James came out of his office minutes later, his face pale. "Vanessa, I heard. I didn't mean to, but I heard. This doesn't change anything between us." "Really? Your company, your future, they mean nothing to you?" "You mean more. James, you can't ask me to carry that responsibility. I can't be the reason you destroy everything your family has built. So, what do you suggest? Vanessa closed her eyes, gathering the courage to say the words she knew would hurt them both. I suggest your mother is right. I suggest we are too different, from worlds too far apart. You don't mean that. James, look at me. Really look at me. Can you imagine a future where this isn't a constant struggle, where we don't have to justify our love to every person we meet? You're letting them win. I'm being realistic. Since when are you a coward, Vanessa? The word hit her like a slap. Since I fell in love with someone who means more to me than my own pride. James came closer and took her by the arms. Don't do this. Don't end us out of fear. It's not out of fear, James. It's out of love. That doesn't make sense. It makes all the sense in the world. I love you too much to watch you lose everything for me. I love you too much to become the reason for your future unhappiness. You are the reason for my happiness. Today, yes, but in 5 years, in 10, when you've lost the company, when your friends have turned their backs on you, when you realize everything you sacrificed, that's never going to happen. Can you guarantee that? James's silence was answer enough. Vanessa gathered her things and headed for the door. Where are you going? To quit. It's for the best. Vanessa, if you walk out that door now, I'm not sure I can forgive you. She paused with her hand on the doorknob. And if I stay, I'm not sure I can forgive myself. She opened the door and walked out, closing it softly behind her. In the elevator, she finally allowed herself to cry. She had made the hardest decision of her life, and even though she knew it was the right one, it felt like she had just torn out her own heart. James was left alone in his office, staring at the door through which the woman he loved had just walked. For the first time in his life, he had everything he thought he ever wanted: power, money, social position. But without Vanessa, it all felt completely empty. 2 weeks passed like an eternity. Vanessa had gone back to working at the Cypress Lounge, but the pain of losing James was a wound that wouldn't heal. Every morning she woke up hoping it had all been a terrible dream, but reality hit her without mercy. Sharon watched her daughter with growing concern. Vanessa had lost weight, had deep dark circles under her eyes, and had lost the spark of hope she had regained during her time with James. "Honey, you can't go on like this," she told her one night as they ate dinner in silence. "I'm fine, Mom." "You're not fine. You're dying inside." "I'll get over it." "When? When you realize you made the biggest mistake of your life." Vanessa looked up, surprised by the harshness in her mother's voice. "I did the right thing, Mom." "The right thing for who? For his classist mother? For a society that already treats you like a second-class citizen?" "I did the right thing for James. He needs someone from his world. What James needs is you, and what you need is to stop punishing yourself for where you come from." "Mom, no, Vanessa. Let me finish. Your whole life you've been the smartest, most hard-working, most noble girl I've ever known. You've overcome every obstacle life has thrown at you. And now you're going to give up? Now you're going to let some rich ladies tell you that you don't deserve to be happy?" Sharon's words resonated in Vanessa's heart, but the pain was stronger than reason. Meanwhile, James was no better. He had tried to focus on work, but everything reminded him of Vanessa. His office felt empty without her presence. Meetings lacked the intelligent perspectives she always brought, and the social responsibility projects they had developed together now seemed meaningless. Edward Vance noticed the change in his partner. "James, we need to talk," he said, entering his office unannounced. "The investors are worried. You've rejected 3 major projects in the last 2 weeks." "They weren't the right projects," James muttered, not looking up from the documents he was pretending to read. "Since when do you care if they're right? You used to only care if they were profitable." James finally looked at him. "People change, Edward." "Yes, and not always for the better. Listen, I know you're upset about that girl. Her name is Vanessa. Whatever, But maybe it's for the best. Now you can focus on what really matters. And what is it that really matters, according to you? The business, James. The company. Your future. James stood up and walked to the window overlooking the city. Somewhere down there, Vanessa was living her life without him. You know what, Edward? I think I've been wrong my whole life about what really matters. That same afternoon, James made a decision that would change everything. He cancelled all his meetings and drove to the Cypress Lounge. He needed to see Vanessa even from a distance. He found her waiting tables, moving with the efficient grace he had admired from the first day. But something had changed in her. Her smile seemed forced, her movements mechanical, as if she were running on autopilot. He sat at a corner table and waited. When Vanessa finally approached to take his order, their eyes met, and the world stood still. "What are you doing here, James?" she whispered, looking around nervously. "I needed to see you." "We can't do this. Not here." "Then where? When?" "Vanessa, these have been the 2 most miserable weeks of my life." "James, please, are you okay? You look... How do I look? Like you're suffering just as much as I am." Vanessa closed her eyes for a moment, gathering her strength. "What would you like to drink?" "I want us to talk." "An Americano. Anything else?" James understood he wasn't going to get anywhere in the crowded lounge. "Nothing else. Thank you." As Vanessa walked away, James noticed something that disturbed him. An older man, sitting at a nearby table, had been watching their entire interaction with great interest. When their eyes met, the man quickly looked away. James waited until Vanessa's shift was over. He followed her. At a distance as she left the lounge, making sure she was alone before approaching. "Vanessa, wait!" She stopped, but didn't turn around. "What do you want, James?" "I want you to know that I haven't given up, that I will never give up." "Well, I did, and it was the right decision." "Do you really believe that?" Vanessa turned, and James saw tears in her eyes. "It doesn't matter what I believe. What matters is what's possible. Anything is possible if we fight together. Together we can't fight a whole world, James. Then let's change the world." Before Vanessa could answer, they heard footsteps approaching. It was the older man who had been watching them at the lounge. "Excuse me," he said with a trembling voice. "May I speak with you for a moment?" James moved into a protective stance in front of Vanessa. "Who are you?" The man seemed nervous but determined. "My name is Robert Moore, and I think I'm Vanessa's father." The world stopped. Vanessa felt her legs tremble. "That's impossible," she whispered. "My father abandoned us years ago." "I did abandon you, yes, but I never stopped looking for you. I never stopped regretting it." James looked at Vanessa, who seemed on the verge of fainting. "Are you okay?" "No, this can't be happening." Robert approached slowly, as if nearing a wounded animal. "Vanessa, I know I have no right to just show up in your life like this, but when I saw you in the lounge, I immediately recognized your mother's eyes. You've grown into a beautiful woman." "Why?" was all Vanessa could say. "Why did you leave?" Robert's eyes filled with tears. "Because I was a coward. Because I couldn't face the responsibility. Because I thought you'd be better off without me. And now what? After 15 years, you decide you want to be a father. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know the truth." "What truth?" Robert looked at James, then back at Vanessa. "That I come from a wealthy family, Vanessa. Father owned several companies in Chicago. When I fell in love with your mother, my family threatened to disinherit me if I married her." Vanessa felt the ground move beneath her feet. "What are you saying?" "That your mother was a housekeeper in my family's home. She was beautiful, intelligent, full of life, but for my family, she wasn't enough. They wanted me to marry someone from my own social class." The similarities to her own situation hit Vanessa like a hammer. "And what did you do?" "At first I fought. I married your mother in secret, but the family pressure, the financial threats, the constant comments, I slowly weakened, until you abandoned us. Until I made the most cowardly decision of my life. I accepted the money my father offered me to disappear. I went to Europe, married the woman my family chose for me, and had the life I was supposed to have. And were you happy? Vanessa asked in a broken voice. Not for a single day. I've spent 15 years regretting it, 15 years wondering what would have happened if I had been brave enough to fight for love. James watched the scene with growing understanding. The parallel between Robert's story and his own situation was impossible to ignore. Why are you telling us this now? James asked. Robert looked at him directly. Because I've been watching you two. Because I see in you what your mother and I once had. And because I don't want you to make the same mistake I did. What mistake? Vanessa whispered. The mistake of believing that love isn't enough to overcome social differences. The mistake of giving in to the pressure of others. The mistake of choosing ease over happiness. Vanessa stood in silence, processing the revelation. Your mother never remarried, you know, Robert continued. She worked hard to raise you, but she never loved anyone else. I broke her heart in a way that never healed. How do you know that? Because I've been sending her money secretly all these years. Money she never knew came from me, that she thought came from an anonymous scholarship or a government program. Vanessa staggered. James held her steady. What money? The money that allowed you to live in a decent apartment instead of on the street. The money that paid for your school books. The money that covered your mother's medical emergencies. That can't be true. Your mother is too proud to accept help directly from me, but I found ways to make sure you were both okay. James intervened gently. Why did you decide to show up now? Because my wife passed away last year. Because my children are grown and have their own lives. Because I'm finally free to be honest about my feelings. And because when I saw you two together, I saw a second chance to make things right. This isn't your second chance, Vanessa said bitterly. It's ours. You're right. But I can help you not make my mistakes. And how do you plan to do that? Robert pulled a card from his pocket. I'm a partner at an investment firm in Chicago. I have contacts, influence, money. I can level the playing field. James took the card and examined it. It was from a company he knew well, Moore and Associates, one of the most respected investment firms in the country. You're Robert Moore of Moore and Associates? The one and the same. Your firm handles over $1 billion in investments. That's right. Vanessa looked at them both, confused. What does this mean? James turned to her. It means your father is one of the most powerful men in the financial sector. It means your humble background includes the blood of one of the country's most influential families. And does that change anything? Vanessa asked painfully. Am I good enough now because it turns out my father has money? No, James answered firmly. You were always good enough. But this changes how others will see you. Robert intervened. Vanessa, I'm not here to buy you or to change who you are. I'm here to offer you tools. Tools to fight against the same system that once defeated me. And what do you want in return? A chance to get to know the extraordinary daughter I helped create, but never had the courage to raise. Vanessa moved away from both men, needing space to process everything. This is too much. All of it is too much. Vanessa, James started. No, I need to go. I need to think. Wait, please, Robert said. I know this is overwhelming, but let me at least explain everything. Let me tell you about your inheritance, about the possibilities you have, about the doors that can be opened. My inheritance? You are my only direct heir, Vanessa. When I die, everything I've built will be yours. But more importantly, you can claim it now. You can take your place in American society not as the girlfriend of the Harrington heir, but as the Moore heiress. The implications of those words hung in the air. James felt a mix of relief and fear. Relief because the social obstacles that had seemed insurmountable had just crumbled. Fear, because maybe Vanessa wouldn't need him anymore. "I don't want your money," Vanessa said finally. "I don't want anything from you." "It's not about what you want, honey. It's about what you deserve. And you deserve every opportunity that money can buy, every door that influence can open. And the price, because there's always a price." Robert looked at her with eyes full of pain. "The price is forgiving an old fool who ruined the most valuable life he ever had. The price is giving your father a chance to make things right for the first time in his miserable life." Vanessa looked at James, then at Robert, then back at James. "I need to talk to my mother." "Of course," Robert said. "She has the right to know I'm here, that I need to ask for her forgiveness. She might not want to see you. I would understand, but I have to try." James approached Vanessa. "Do you want me to come with you?" She looked at him for a long moment. "I don't know if I'm ready for that, James. I understand. But Vanessa, this doesn't change how I feel about you, rich or poor, with a father or without. I love you for who you are." "Really? Or do you love me because it's easier now?" The question hit James like a slap. "That's not fair." "None of this is fair, James. 2 weeks ago, I was too poor and humble for you. Today, I find out I'm the heiress to a fortune. How convenient is that? Vanessa, you know that I don't know anything." "James, I don't know anything anymore." She walked away from both men, heading quickly toward the subway station. James followed her. "Vanessa, wait! Don't follow me! I'm not giving up." She stopped and turned, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Why not? Everyone else gives up on me. My father gave up. You were giving up. I gave up. Because I love you. Because without you, I'm nothing. You were something before you met me. You were the heir, James Harrington. I was an empty man before I met you. Rich but empty, powerful but without purpose. I had everything and I had nothing." Vanessa broke down, sobbing. "I don't know what to do, James. I don't know how to process all of this." James went to her and held her, feeling her tremble against his chest. "Then don't do anything yet. Process it. Talk to your mother. Take the time you need. But don't push me completely out of your life. What if all this changes who I am? Impossible. Your essence, your heart, your soul, that can't be bought or inherited. That is yours and yours alone." Robert approached timidly. "Vanessa, I'm going to give you my contact information. When you're ready to talk, to ask questions, for anything, I'll be waiting." He handed a card to James and another to Vanessa. "And I want you to know something else. I've been researching your business, Mr. Harrington, your social housing project, your corporate responsibility initiatives. My firm would be very interested in partnering on those projects." "Why?" James asked suspiciously. "Because they are exactly the kind of projects I should have invested in 20 years ago. Because it's time I use my money to do some good in the world. And because," he looked at Vanessa with fatherly love, "because I want my daughter to be proud of the man who brought her into this world." That night, Vanessa arrived home with a shattered heart and a mind in chaos. Sharon was waiting for her, as always. "How was work, honey?" Vanessa sat heavily on the sofa and told her everything. Sharon listened in silence without interrupting, but Vanessa could see the emotions crossing her face: shock, pain, anger, and finally, a deep sadness. "Are you sure it was him?" Sharon asked when Vanessa finished. "Mom, he had your eyes, and he knew things only Dad could know." Sharon stood up and walked to the window. "You know, I always knew he had money." "What?" "When I met him, I was cleaning houses in the nice neighborhoods. He dressed too. Well, spoke too politely, had the manners of a rich man, but he told me he was a middle-class college student." "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because I was in love. Because I wanted to believe that love was enough, and it wasn't." Sharon turned to her daughter. "Love was enough, honey. It was cowardice that wasn't." "What are you going to do? Do you want to see him?" Sharon was quiet for a long moment. Part of me wants to slap him. Part of me wants to scream at him for all the pain he caused us. But another part never stopped loving him. Mom, honey, your father made the mistake of his life when he left us, but you don't have to make the same mistake. What are you talking about? About James. About that young man who loves you with all his heart and who you love just as much. It's complicated, Mom. It's only complicated if you let it be. You hold all the cards now, Vanessa. You have education, talent, and it turns out you also have money and social standing. The question is, what are you going to do with all of that? Vanessa looked at her mother, seeing for the first time not just the woman who had raised her with so much sacrifice, but the woman who had loved and lost, who had suffered and survived. What would you do in my place? Sharon smiled, a smile full of wisdom earned through pain. I would fight for my happiness, but this time I would fight with every weapon at my disposal. A week after the revelation about her father, Vanessa had made some important decisions. First, she had agreed to meet with Robert in a neutral cafe, along with Sharon. The meeting had been painful but necessary, filled with tears, explanations, and slowly the beginning of a forgiveness that had been 15 years in the making. Robert had insisted on immediately transferring a significant amount of money to an account in Vanessa's name, but she had set conditions. The money would be used to establish a scholarship fund for young people from Boyle Heights who wanted to go to college. It was her way of honoring where she came from without rejecting the opportunities she now had. Second, she had decided to go to school. With the resources now available, she had enrolled at UCLA to study philosophy, the dream she had cherished for so many years. And third, she had made the most difficult decision of all, to talk to James. She asked him to meet her at Griffith Park in a neutral spot where they could talk without interruption. James arrived early, nervous, waiting on a bench near the observatory. When Vanessa appeared, James felt his heart race. She had lost weight, but there was something different about her. She walked with more confidence, held her head higher. It was as if she had found a part of herself that had been dormant. "Hi," she said, sitting next to him, but keeping a distance. "Hi, you look different. I feel different. How are things with your father?" Vanessa sighed. "Complicated, painful, but necessary. The three of us are going to family therapy. It's a process. I'm glad to hear you're working on it. James, I need to tell you something." James's heart sank. From the tone of her voice, he prepared for the worst. "I'm listening. I've been thinking a lot these past few days. About us, about what happened, about the reasons we broke up." "Vanessa, let me finish, please." She looked him directly in the eye. "I realized something important. We didn't break up because we were from different worlds. We broke up because I didn't believe I deserved to fight for my own happiness." James moved a little closer. "And now? Now I know that I deserve to be loved. I deserve to be respected. I deserve to have someone fight for me as much as I'm willing to fight for them. I was always willing to fight for you. I know, but I wasn't ready to fight for myself. And are you ready now?" Vanessa got up from the bench and walked toward the edge of the park, overlooking the city. James followed her. "James, do you love me for who I am, or for the idea of who I am?" "I love you for who you are. It has always been that way. Even when I was just a waitress from Boyle Heights, especially then, because at that moment your love was pure, not influenced by money or social position. And now that I know I'm the heiress to a fortune, now," James hesitated, "now I'm scared." "Scared of what?" "Scared that you don't need me anymore. Scared that you could find someone better than me." Vanessa turned to look at him, surprised. "Do you really think that? Isn't it logical? You have options now that you didn't have before. James Harrington, are you feeling insecure?" "Completely insecure." For the first time in weeks, Vanessa smiled a genuine smile. Good. Now you know how I felt this entire time. Is this revenge? This is perspective. James laughed, a nervous but real laugh. So what happens now? Where does this leave us? Vanessa moved closer to him, closing the distance between them. It leaves us in the same place we've always been, two people who love each other and have to decide if that love is enough to build something together. And what's your answer? My answer is yes, but with conditions. What conditions? First, no secrets. If we're going to do this, we do it openly, without hiding from anyone. Agreed. Second, I do not become the little trophy wife. I remain who I am. I continue to pursue my dreams. I continue to fight for the causes I believe in. I wouldn't want you to change anything about yourself. Third, if at any point this becomes toxic, if we start hurting each other more than we love each other, we end it. No drama, no unnecessary suffering. That's the hardest condition. It's the most important one. James took her hands in his. And what's my condition? Do you have one? Only one. That you allow me to love you the way you deserve to be loved. Completely. Without reservation. Without fear. Can you do that? I can try every day for the rest of my life. They kissed then, softly at first, then with all the passion and pain and hope they had accumulated during the weeks of separation. It was a kiss that tasted of forgiveness, of new beginnings, of promises that maybe this time they could keep. When they parted, James had one more question. And my mother, and the people who are going to judge us. Your mother is going to have to learn to respect me. And as for the people who judge us, Vanessa smiled with a newfound confidence. They're going to discover that Vanessa Moore is not the same woman who let herself be intimidated. What do you mean? I mean, I've been learning to use my voice. I've been practicing the public speaking I always loved. If anyone wants to disrespect me, they're going to find out I know how to defend myself very well. And the money? The inheritance? The money is a tool, James, nothing more. It doesn't define me, but I can use it to do good things, like the scholarship fund I've already established. You've already established a scholarship fund. The first beneficiary is me. I start at UCLA next semester. James looked at her with growing admiration. Philosophy? Philosophy. With a focus on ethics and social justice. And what are you going to do with that degree? I'm going to change the world, James. One argument at a time. That night, James took Vanessa to dinner at the most elegant restaurant in the city. But this time, when curious glances turned their way, Vanessa didn't shrink. She held her head high, spoke with intelligence and passion, and when a couple at the next table made whispered comments about Harrington's new toy, Vanessa rose from her chair. "Excuse me," she said, approaching their table. "I couldn't help but overhear your comments. I'm wondering if you feel comfortable judging people you don't know, or if it's something you do automatically." The couple was dumbfounded. We didn't, because you see, I'm Vanessa Moore, heiress to Moore and Associates, a philosophy student at UCLA, and yes, James Harrington's girlfriend. But more important than all of that, I am a woman who no longer tolerates ignorance disguised as sophistication. James watched the scene with a mixture of pride and awe. If you have a problem with my presence here, I suggest you work on your own prejudices before commenting on the lives of others. Have an excellent night. She calmly returned to her table. The entire restaurant had been listening. "Are you okay?" James asked. "I'm perfect," Vanessa replied. "Are you okay?" "I'm in love. I already knew that." "No, I'm in love with this new version of you that doesn't let anyone intimidate her. It's not a new version, James. It's the version that always existed, but who finally has the tools to defend herself." A week later, James organized a family dinner to officially introduce Vanessa. This time, Isabel Harrington found herself facing not a humble and intimidated girl, but a self-assured woman who spoke as an equal. "Vanessa," Isabel said with her usual tense smile, "James tells me you've been studying." "That's right, Mrs. Harrington. Philosophy at UCLA. I'm also working on some social responsibility projects." "What kind of projects?" "I'm collaborating with my father on developing educational programs for low-income youth. We want to create a model that can be replicated nationwide." Isabel blinked. The casual mention of "my father" and nationwide projects was not what she expected. "Your father?" "Robert Moore, of Moore and Associates. I assume you know the firm." The change in Isabel's expression was instantaneous. She knew the reputation of Moore and Associates very well. Of course, a very respected firm. "Indeed, and we're very excited to be collaborating with Harrington Industries on several future projects." James watched the exchange with fascination. Vanessa had taken control of the conversation from the very first moment. "That sounds very interesting," Isabel managed to say. "I think so too. In fact, I'd love to tell you about our inclusive education initiatives. I believe someone with your experience in charitable organizations could contribute a great deal." Isabel found herself in the awkward position of being consulted as an expert rather than being the interrogator. The dynamic had completely shifted. During dinner, Vanessa spoke knowledgeably about art, literature, international politics, and economics. When Isabel mentioned a recent exhibition at LACMA, Vanessa had not only seen it, but offered an informed, critical perspective on the artist's work. "It's fascinating how Jacob Lawrence manages to capture the duality of progress and tradition in the American experience," Vanessa commented. "His use of narrative in the Migration series reminds me so much of Walter Benjamin's arguments about the technical reproducibility of art." James almost choked on his wine. Isabel seemed genuinely impressed. "You've read Walter Benjamin?" "Of course. His essay, The Work of Art in the Age of Mechanical Reproduction, is fundamental to understanding how art can be a tool for social transformation. In fact, I'm writing a paper on how we can apply those theories to community education programs." At the end of the night, when James walked Vanessa to her car, he couldn't contain his admiration. "Where did all that come from? When did you read Walter Benjamin?" "I've always read James. The difference is that now I have the confidence to participate in conversations I used to think weren't for me." "My mother was impressed." "Your mother was surprised. There's a difference." "Do you think she likes you now?" "I don't care if she likes me or not. What matters is that she respects me, and I think tonight we established that that is going to happen." 3 months later, Vanessa had become a constant presence in LA's social circles, not as James's silent companion, but as a force in her own right. Her ideas on corporate social responsibility had caught the attention of several media outlets, and she had been invited to give talks at universities on self-improvement and social justice. The social housing project she had developed with James had become a model to follow, with Robert Moore as the lead investor. The combination of the Moore money, the Harrington influence, and Vanessa's vision had created something powerful. But the ultimate test came when they received an invitation to the social event of the year, the annual gala for the American Foundation for Arts and Culture. It was the event where the entire country's elite gathered, where alliances were formed and reputations were made or broken. "Are you sure you want to go?" James asked as they prepared for the gala. "Why wouldn't I want to go?" "Because everyone will be there, politicians, entrepreneurs, artists. Everyone who's anyone will be there." Vanessa looked at herself in the mirror. She wore a deep blue evening gown that enhanced her green eyes, and her hair was styled in an elegant updo. But more than her appearance, it was her posture that had changed. There was no longer any trace of the insecure girl who once feared she wouldn't fit in. "Then it's the perfect place to announce our engagement," she said calmly. James nearly fell over. Our what? Vanessa turned to him, smiling. James Harrington, we've been together for 6 months in this new phase. We've overcome every obstacle that stood in our way. We've proven we can work as a team. How much longer are we going to wait? Vanessa, are you proposing to me? I'm telling you I'm ready for the next step. If you are too. James approached her, taking her hands. Are you sure? Marriage means... It means we choose to build a life together. That we choose to face whatever comes as a couple. That we choose to bet on this love we have fought so hard to protect. And what about your career, your studies? What about them? Marrying you doesn't mean giving up my dreams, James. It means having a partner who supports me while I pursue them. James knelt before her, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. Funny you should mention that, he said, smiling, because I've been carrying this around for weeks, waiting for the perfect moment. He opened the box, revealing a simple but beautiful diamond ring. Vanessa Moore, will you marry me? Will you marry me not because you now fit into my world, but because I want us to build our own world together? James, will you marry me because you are the most extraordinary woman I've ever met? Because you make me want to be a better man every day. Because I can't imagine a future that doesn't include your philosophical arguments at breakfast and your determination to change the world before lunch. Vanessa laughed through her tears. Yes, James, yes, I'll marry you. He placed the ring on her finger, and for a moment they stood there, embracing, savoring the magnitude of what had just happened. Do you really want to announce it tonight? James asked. Is there a better time? The whole of LA society will be there. Let's make a statement. The Foundation's gala was held at the Walt Disney Concert Hall, one of the most impressive venues in the city. When James and Vanessa arrived, photographers swarmed them. Vanessa was no longer a stranger. The media had begun to follow her projects and public appearances. Miss Moore, a reporter shouted, is it true you're developing an international education program? It's true, Vanessa replied confidently. We're working with universities in Colombia and Argentina to replicate our model of inclusive scholarships. Mr. Harrington, what are your future plans for Harrington Industries? Our plans include significantly expanding our social responsibility programs, with Miss Moore leading those initiatives. Inside the concert hall, the elite mingled among works of art and imported champagne. Vanessa recognized politicians she had seen on TV, entrepreneurs whose companies she knew from the news, artists whose works she had studied. Nervous? James whispered. Not at all, she replied. This is exactly where I belong. During dinner, they were seated at a table with the Secretary of Education, the director of a major national museum, and one of the country's most renowned writers. Vanessa naturally integrated into the conversation, discussing educational policies with the secretary and debating pre-Columbian art with the museum director. It's refreshing, the writer commented, to find someone young with such well-articulated ideas about social justice. Thank you, Vanessa replied. I believe our generation has a responsibility to use our privileges to create real change. Privileges? The secretary asked. Don't you come from a more humble background? That's exactly why I understand the importance of privilege. Vanessa answered without hesitation. I've lived on both sides of the social equation. That gives me a unique perspective on how we can build bridges between the different realities of our country. After dinner, it was time for speeches. The gala's organizer approached James. James, would you mind saying a few words about the projects you've been developing? James looked at Vanessa. Together, she confirmed. They walked onto the stage hand in hand. The hall fell silent. Good evening, James began. When my father founded Harrington Industries 30 years ago, his vision was to create a company that was synonymous with excellence and economic growth. Vanessa took the microphone. But companies, like people, must evolve. And we believe that true excellence in the 21st century means social responsibility, inclusion, and justice. That's why, James continued, we are here tonight not only to support this beautiful cause, but to announce something personal. The hall, filled with anticipation. Vanessa and I have decided to get married, James said. But more than a wedding, this represents the union of two complementary visions, business expertise and a passion for social justice. Vanessa took the microphone again. Our marriage will also be the marriage of our projects. We are announcing the creation of the Harrington Moore Foundation for Inclusive Education, which will have an initial investment of $50 million. The hall erupted in applause. James kissed Vanessa on stage, sealing not only their personal commitment, but also their professional alliance. After the event, as they drove home, Vanessa reflected on the journey. You know what the most ironic part of all this is, she said. What? That in the end I didn't have to change to fit into your world. Your world had to expand to include me. Our world, James corrected. It's not my world or your world anymore. It's our world. And what world is that? A world where love knows no social boundaries, where intelligence and passion matter more than a last name, where two people can decide to write their own story, no matter what anyone else says. I like that world. Then let's build it together. The wedding took place 6 months later, in a ceremony that combined elegance with meaning. They were married at the Moore estate, the family property that Robert had reclaimed years before. Sharon walked Vanessa down the aisle, beaming with pride. Robert, with tears in his eyes, officially gave his daughter to the man who loved her. Isabel Harrington, who had gone from opponent to reluctant admirer to genuine supporter of Vanessa, gave one of the most emotional speeches of the night. When my son first brought this extraordinary woman to me, she said, I thought I knew what was best for him. I was wrong. Vanessa wasn't just what was best for James. She was exactly what our family needed. She has taught us that true value isn't inherited, it's built. She has shown us that real love doesn't divide, it unites. And she has proven that when a woman decides to fight for her dreams, there is no force on earth that can stop her. On their honeymoon in Italy, as they walked the streets of Rome, Vanessa reflected on her transformation. Do you know what surprises me most about this whole story? She said to James as they gazed at the Colosseum. What? That the girl who once thought she didn't deserve love is now not only married to the man of her dreams, but is building a foundation to help other kids just like her. And how does that feel? It feels like justice. It feels like all the pain, all the struggle, all the humiliation was worth it to get to this moment. Do you have any regrets? Vanessa thought about it carefully. Only one. What's that? That it took me so long to realize I deserved to fight for my own happiness. But you fought in the end. We fought in the end. Together. James took her hand. So what's next? Now change the world. One project at a time, one life at a time, one love at a time. Starting with our own family. Vanessa stopped and looked at him. Are you asking me if I want to have children with you? I'm asking if you're ready to raise the next generation of revolutionaries. James Harrington, there is nothing in the world that excites me more than that idea. They kissed under the Roman sun, two people who had found in love the strength to rewrite the rules of the world around them. 5 years later, Vanessa stood before an auditorium full of university students from all over Latin America. At 30, she had become one of the most respected voices in education and social justice in the region. Her first book, From Boyle Heights to Harvard, A Philosophy of Deserving, had become an international bestseller. Self-love is not arrogance, she said from the podium. It's revolutionary. Because when a woman decides she deserves respect, when a young person decides they deserve opportunities, when a community decides it deserves justice, the entire world has to respond. In the front row, James watched her with the same awe as on the first day. Beside him, in a specially designed high chair, was Sophia, their 3-year-old daughter, with her mother's green eyes and the determination of both her parents. "Is Mummy working?" Sophia whispered. "Mummy is changing the world," James replied. "Can I help?" "Of course you can, someday." After the conference, as they were heading home, Sophia asked Vanessa, "Mummy, why are people clapping for you?" "Because I'm reminding them of something very important, my love." "What's that?" "That we all deserve to be loved, that we all deserve opportunities, that it doesn't matter where you come from, it matters where you decide to go." "And where are we going?" Vanessa looked at James, then at her daughter, then at the city stretching out before them. "We're going toward the future, my love. A future where your skin color, your last name or your bank account doesn't determine how much love you deserve or how high you can fly." "And are you going to keep giving talks?" "I'm going to keep fighting for a world where you and all the children like you can grow up feeling worthy of all their dreams." That night, as they were putting Sophia to bed, James hugged Vanessa from behind. "You know what?" he whispered in her ear. "What?" "I'm still falling in love with you every day, but for different reasons now." "Like what?" "Before, I fell in love with your vulnerability, your hidden intelligence, your shy beauty. Now, I fall in love with your strength, your confidence, the way you light up any room you enter." "And which do you prefer?" "Both, because both are you." Vanessa turned in his arms. "Do you know what my favorite part of our whole story is?" "What's that?" "That it started with a girl who thought she didn't deserve to be seen, and it ended with a woman who cannot be ignored." "And how do you think it will end?" "I don't know, but I know that however it ends, we'll end it together, changing the world, one love story at a time." They kissed in the room they had made their home, surrounded by photos of their projects, philosophy books, Sophia's toys, and the dreams they had built together. And somewhere in Boyle Heights, an 8-year-old girl was reading a book about a girl who had grown up in her own neighborhood and had reached for the stars, without ever forgetting where she came from. The cycle continued. Love continued. Hope continued. And Vanessa Moore Harrington smiled, knowing she had fulfilled the most important promise of her life. She had learned to love herself as much as she deserved to be loved. Did you see yourself in Vanessa? Have you ever felt that you didn't deserve the love you receive? This story reminds us that self-love is the first step toward happiness. Tell us in the comments which city you're writing from and what part of the story moved you the most. Did you enjoy seeing how Vanessa transformed her pain into power? If this story inspired you, give it a like and share it with someone who needs a reminder that they deserve all the love in the world. What kind of story would you like to hear next? Your suggestions are always welcome. Remember, true love doesn't make you smaller, it helps you grow into the best version of yourself.